Hi, I'm Garrett Kennedy, a music writer here at The Times. I'm joined by my colleagues Travell Anderson and Jerome Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about Empire. This show is sort of the hottest thing out right now. And actually, I just wanted to throw out the news of the day that last night's episode was another gain for the show, fifth week in a row, ratings gains. So, first question: why do we think the show is so popular, and why has it become such a massive hit?
I think it's a massive hit because we haven't seen something like this before. It's kind of Glee meets like Hustle and Flow for me,
and a little bit of Dynasty thrown in there.
Dynasty, right? It's just really, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's kind of campy, but that's what I like in my life. So, I love it.
I'm actually a little surprised that the show did so well initially. Okay. When I first heard about it, you may have called it Glee-like. That didn't seem very attractive to me. I thought it was just going to be very sing-songy, but I think the development of the characters is really what's really driving the show. I think everyone, of course, really likes Cookie. I think, you go on Twitter, there's so many gifs of her. And I also think that some of the topics that are brought up by the show, I think now that we're sort of discussing homosexuality and hip-hop, is sort of something that people sort of want to... Did they want to see something like that talked about in the Black community, and now it's being brought up by the show?
Right. Yeah, that was something that I was really passionate about, from when I saw the pilot forever ago before it premiered, was that it took this huge risk. This is not something within our community that we have really open dialogues about. You usually get, sort of this conversation under the guise of the church. And that's always sort of been my problem with things that maybe Tyler Perry does. And that's no offense to him, but I wanted something a little bit more realistic to daily life. And even though this is this really campy, blown out thing, this is like hip hop circa 2005.
Right.
Probably even earlier than that. Like people ain't really balling like that anymore. But I still think it's bringing up a lot of these great conversations. So let's go into last night. If, we bring up, homosexuality, Jamal has been this breakout character on this show, and the music is great. Last night's music from him was just absolutely fantastic. Really, but there was a scene where he sort of goes back into the shadows. Travell, you wrote about it, so talk about a little bit, what you saw there.
I think, he's been very vocal, to his father about, being a proud Black gay man and all of that. And so this moment where Sway asks him, if he has a girlfriend in his life, and he kind of tiptoes around it and ends up saying that there's no one in his life. It's like, hold up, like I was just so ready for you to be like, yes, like I got a boyfriend, and the music is still fly. But like I said in my piece, everybody can't be Sam Smith, so it's just real interesting. It's unfortunate.
But what I really liked about that scene though is it sort of shows you a little bit of how the assumption is always made. Especially within R&B.
Yeah.
Here he is doing this interview. He has on a short sleeve shirt and he has his equality tattoo, and it's out and it's showing. And he still asks the question about his lady friend. And it goes, you brought up Sam Smith, and he has, the male gender symbol on his finger, and yet the question is still asked. And I think that's really, really fascinating. Like, how do you think, Jerome, maybe they are sort of handling, or maybe not handling, but maybe balancing, Black maybe stereotypes within the gay community with also maybe music stereotypes within being gay and being a star?
I don't think they really answered the question right now. I think when you think about hip hop stars, you automatically think that there's, at least Black male stars, you think that they're automatically straight. And I think in last night's episode, they kind of revealed that these people have very rich lives off the stage, outside the music videos, that we know them through that way. And then by Jamal stating that, or sort of not coming out on the show, if you will, it kind of clued in that, maybe some of the stars that we're seeing that may not talk too much about their sexuality or talk about who they're dating, maybe more of a misnomer for us. Even if you think about Tiana, sorry. That was sort of a shock as well. I didn't see that coming. And I think it also shows that it's not only just for Black men, it's also for Black women.
Right. But what I think is even more powerful with her character is they are showing the love interest. He does not immediately fetishize her, as if that's what you see a lot in hip hop is
Yeah.
two women. It's a fantasy
Yeah.
for men. He is upset. His girlfriend is cheating on him, and he's cheating on her too. But he, you know, he's really upset about this. I thought that's a really powerful portrayal, and sort of kind of gives you a little bit of a balance and more adds to the realistic quality. I think that's what the show is doing really well. I want to remind everybody that's watching this is that you guys can tweet us some questions at #AskLATimes. We'd love to see some of your thoughts or maybe questions for the three of us.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something about the show. I don't know if it's being really talked about, is that this is original music every single week. Are you guys downloading the songs and listening to the songs outside of the show, or do you leave it just there?
I listen to the songs outside the show. I love the music. Like, it's really on point. Like, it could be on the radio today and I would jam to it. I love it. I download it. I download probably a song after every episode.
Every episode? What about you?
I don't download the songs. I'm being honest. I do listen on Spotify, so I am listening. Initially, it was not the type of stuff that I'd want to download. I remember the very first song that Jamal and Hakeem did on the show on the boat, and I was like, this is not for me. I wouldn't play this. It was a little. That was my fear of it being too much like Glee. But then I think some of the later stuff, like Drip Drop blowing up.
It's fun,
like,
right?
It's a fun song. I don't think I mean, it can't necessarily lyrically hang with like Kendrick Lamar or stuff like that, but it is the type of stuff that you'd hear in Top 40, which also kind of made me think about how easy is it to come up with a hit? Because I mean, we're looking at, like, when you think of sort of more of the bigger names in hip hop, Kendrick, you think of Nicki, and then you look at these are people who are actors who are then getting a Timbaland beat, having a song written, and then they're producing it, and you're like, wow, this is really catchy. It made me think a little bit more about what's real, like, what am I really listening for? Am I really listening for the Timbaland beat, or is it actually really good music?
That's a really good point. And, you know, I want to go back to the Glee part of it because, you know, Glee had this really great success with the music very early on. And we knew the songs. We loved the songs. We loved sort of kind of how they tackled the songs and did the mashups and all this great stuff. However, for those actors on that show who then tried to have singing careers, it didn't necessarily work.
Yeah.
So this is almost a little bit of the opposite. They are actors then also pursuing careers outside of the show, but they are being launched with the songs from the show, which is a really interesting concept, you know, to see, you know, Jamal, or, you know, the character, the actress who plays Tiana has, you know, the song out as well. So is that something that you think could work?
I think it depends on the song. I think with Empire, we have original songs. And so it's like you, in a way, are still able to develop kind of your own identity as an artist. Whereas with Glee, you know, if you're doing a Beyonce song, it's like, you know, I just feel like it's a little harder with the people from Glee. It's like you said, they haven't really popped as I'm sure they would have liked to. But I think with the music with Empire, it's original. So at least makes me feel as a viewer that, okay, this might actually be you as an artist in a way. Not to mention Jussie Smollett, you know, who plays Jamal. He's been trying to do music prior to this. So it's the music for him is not a new thing in particular.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because it goes back to, you know, sort of the character in the song. You know, the young man who plays the middle brother. No, sorry, youngest. Hakeem. Yes, yeah. Hakeem. The rapper himself, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. I do love the songs. I think they're catchy. But the character, it's not something that I really like. Every week I like see him on screen. I'm just like, oh God, again. But that also speaks. I mean, he's doing a really great job with the character, whatever.
Right.
But then that goes back to, you know, the music. Will people be able to separate some of the things, especially, you know, Jamal, we don't necessarily know the actor or of his sexuality or anything like that. There's been speculations, whatever, but we don't necessarily know. So do you think people will be able to separate the two, even though the music is catered to the character and not necessarily the performer?
I think that's a tough question, because as viewers, we're falling in love with the characters, and I don't think we're necessarily falling in love with the actors. I think if when they step out, maybe when we hear them on the radio, if they're similar, we might be able to transition a little bit easier. But if it's so drastically different, I think you're gonna have to fall in love with them all over again, which really puts it more on them, which is a risk.
Okay. I think someone has hit us up with a question. So there is Denise who's watching, said she has downloaded pretty much everything from the show. Do you think they'll have a compilation at the end of the season? Denise, I have heard that there is a soundtrack coming out, I think in March. I don't have a date yet, but obviously we will be covering it whenever that happens. I want to ask one last question though before we wrap up is, you know, we've talked about a lot of the good with the show, but there is lots of controversy. There is lots of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna ask the blanket question of what do you think the show is doing wrong?
What is the show doing wrong?
Mm.
I think that's a tough question because it is a TV show and they only have 40 minutes to pack stuff in this one episode. I think it's a lot of the criticism has been in terms of, you know, related to the homosexuality thing and people believing that the Black community is somehow more homophobic than other communities and things like that. I mean, I think we have to give the show time. I think we're seeing that there is a lot more character development going on that is further exploring and debunking some of these stereotypes that we say the show is putting up. And so I think we just have to give it time to be the show we actually really want it to be.
Okay. Jerome, what are they doing wrong?
I would say that I think they're doing too much too quick.
Oh, okay.
I think, and the reason I say that is because of last night's episode. We had Jamal not come out, and then we have Raven Simone come on the show, and she has a baby that's supposed to be Jamal's, and it felt like it was going on, like that was all building too quickly, and I'm worried that by including too many other characters, even with the what is her name, the lady with the blonde hair who was on
Courtney Love.
With Courtney Love's character coming on, her addition, I'm worried that we're going to be bringing in too many. Although I feel like we're just starting to really get into the groove of the family and kind of seeing the new back and forth between Cookie and Anika. And I think that I was looking for more growth there, and now we have this to work with. So I'm worried that we might have too much to work with too soon, but we'll have to see how it plays out.
Okay. Well, everybody at home, feel free to definitely tweet us, hit us up about maybe this question of, you know, should we be concerned about the portrayals of the Black community? I mean, there's been a conversation that's been hot every week, so have it with us. We'll be tuning in on Twitter. So I'm Garrett Kennedy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for my wonderful guests, and we will see you guys later.